Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video we're going to be talking about Weapon X, one of the mutant champions that I am currently considering taking to rank 3. Unfortunately I did not quite manage to dupe him in the Cyber Weekend, but unduped he's still a perfectly viable champion, which is one of the most frequently asked questions. Is he viable unduped in case of Weapon X? Absolutely yes. And first let's just take a look at a quick fun clip here of Weapon X doing Weapon X things, obviously getting smacked in the face, healing it all back pretty much instantly. Yes, I'm taking some red numbers, but in between the Recovery Mastery and Wolverine's Relics ability to increase my heal potency, you can see that I'm healing back pretty much all that damage. Obviously the Incinerate there is taking me away for quite a lot, but I'm still surviving it. Despite Incinerate being for like 3k a tick, and I'm still gonna outlive that Incinerate and effectively regened back all and more of the hit damage that we took from that level 3. So once you are in your Berserk mode, you regen all of the hit damage. It's important to remember, you do not regen back the burst of damage, you do not regen back the dot, aside from, you know, willpower healing, and you do not regen block damage, but all of the hit damage you take in the face you do regenerate back. So first let's go over a bit of a theory, pros, cons, defensive value, so on, and then I am going to be showing you guys some rotations and some matchups and some fun things with Weapon X a bit further on in the video. So the biggest pros is definitely high damage early, because he accesses very large amount of damage quite quickly, especially if you do engage the Fury as you enter the Berserk mode by getting hit. So large amount of bleed dot, which also can obviously be quite helpful, and you can maintain those bleeds for quite a long time in a large amount, so it synergizes great with Despair and Inequity. Can heal all hit damage, which I just covered. Again, it does not apply to block damage, it does not apply to dots and burst. Uber aggressive playstyle, which can be tremendously fun and obviously fast as well. And the fact that obviously he does have alternate rotations. So cons, he's quite reliant on fast tempo, or if you're using alternate rotations, then on AI being cooperative. Somewhat reliant on heavy attacks, because that's one of the things that people often kind of overlook when initially starting to play with Weapon X, is how useful that heavy attack is, and I'm going to demonstrate that in a bit. Once you exit Berserk, damage drops off fast, so the Berserk mode, maintaining it alive is kind of a key for a fast fight, and there's like a massive difference in the speed that you're able to finish off the fights. I do have a clip to showcase that as well a bit later. So plenty of matchups where getting hit is not quite an option that have some major detrimental effects, like aforementioned burst of damage or massive dots being placed on you can, you know, limit his usability for sure, as well as somewhat of a reliance on bleed debuffs. But even against bleeding champions, he can put up quite impressive numbers. So defensive value overall would be medium-high. He's a champion that is significantly more scary if you do not know how to face him and what you're doing against him. And he's also one of those champions where if you do make a slip-up, you're gonna get punished hard. So ultimately on defense, he is easy prey for heal block and poison champions by completely shutting off his healing. Aggressive AI makes him quite easy to fight in most scenarios. He's one of the easiest champions to intercept, for example, to bait out a heavy attack, and, you know, always gonna throw that special. So that is definitely a con against him, really. And the pros are that, yeah, if you do make a mistake against Weapon X, it's gonna cost you a lot, and it's gonna hurt a lot. And also a pro that is, unless you have quite good counter, even if you're playing the viable strategies how to defeat him, he can still stall for quite a bit of time. And then counters obviously would be dot damage is great, even though Despair does not affect him. Poison does, and he does not regenerate dot back, so if you do put like massive Incinerate on him, he's going to be taking the dot damage, and the regen, you know, is going to heal back the hit damage but not the dot damage. Heal block completely shuts him down. Then we have burst damage and block damage that are also ways to bypass him. So let's jump back up to the clips that I have recorded for you. And first is going to be, so this is a rank 4 Wolverine Weapon X, no boosts, no nothing, no synergies, no recall masteries or any of the shenanigans. And it's going to be a very fast time to take down 550k health for rank 2 7-star. And here we can see that I'm starting off with a combo, then a heavy attack, and then I'm getting hit on purpose, and now I'm hitting him for quite a lot of damage, and drop a heavy attack then myself to refresh the bleeds, and also drop another level 1 to get a 60k crit from a special in, and the bleed damage is doing its work, and I am just about to lose all my charges, but I still going for a cheeky attack, because had I gotten hit there, I still would have regenerated it all back, and ultimately it was... There we go, 40-second fight, so that's quite awesome for that. Right. And we showed this clip, and do we have now the fight against... where did I leave the fight against... Here we go. So this is the alternate rotation, really to speak, and in this fight we're going to be basically stacking up our bleeds and never letting them fall off. So if you are unable to play like ultra aggressive, you can take a different approach here, and you can effectively just spam your heavy attacks, continuously refreshing your bleeds, stacking them up, and letting them all do the work, because, you know, they do add up for quite significant amount of damage, especially later on when you enter the berserk, and you know, get that fury and increase the bleed potency as well. So here we can see that we have like 16 bleeds. I am taking all those hits on purpose without an issue, because I do know that there are no detrimental effects associated with them. Even if I'm not unstoppable and I eat that bleed, you know, life's good. And the worst thing that happens to me here is I get knocked down, get a fury, and regen back all the damage. So we can see that I have not dropped my bleeds one bit. We have, you know, stacked up to 30 plus of them. And this rotation is still slower. Ultimately, for shorter fights, this rotation is still definitely slower than going all out. But you can absolutely do that just by stacking up the bleeds the best you can. And then we have some just fun. Like, these are goofing off fights for sure. So this is going to be against Human Torch. And this guy has like a 90% evade node unless I have a precision active. And I could get a precision by intercepting him. So only thing that I would have to do this fight properly is to dex and then intercept, and I get that guaranteed critical hit node, as we can see here. But the point is, he's effectively immortal in fights where opponent evades a lot, because you do regen back all the hit damage and then some. They are hitting you, so you get that fury quite easily. And then when you do land your hits, obviously, you know, life's good. So here we're just gonna drop the level 3. If anything, that's like a way how you can do these fights. It's really stupid, it's really cheesy, but every single time opponent evades, Weapon X goes unstoppable for like a second and a half, or like a second, and then obviously whilst he's unstoppable and he gets hit, he gets that fury whilst in berserk, and that gives him a ton of damage. And you can do this indefinitely because you do regen back 100 and then some percent hit damage, thanks to Recovery Mastery and thanks to the Wolverine relic. So you can see that I have gotten smacked quite a bit, and at this point I'm still at like 86 charges here. He keeps evading, I am getting hit, but none of that matters. I'm easily going back up to full bar of power regardless of how often I get hit. And yeah, you can do some very, very, very funny things like that. But let's go back to the initial first fight here against Winter Soldier to showcase the importance of that heavy attack again. We can find that in his ability description. So when you strike the opponent, you have a chance to gain your berserk charges, and then with a heavy attack, whilst you are under 10 charges, you have a chance to, well, you have 100% to double them on each hit. So there we went from 4 charges to 8 to 16, which basically puts us in a territory where we can throw a special attack and just enter berserk mode. So that is what you will want to do in just about every fight initially. You want to drop a full combo, you're going to get like 2 to 3 charges typically, and then drop a heavy attack or 2 to multiply them until you get past 10. And then another key thing that a lot of people forget is that whilst you are in the berserk mode, and I believe I can show that somewhere here, whilst you are in the berserk mode and you drop your heavy attack, you get to double these charges again. So here I just didn't make it, my charges expired unfortunately, but the charge doubling with your heavy attack works in the Berserk mode, and that is the best way how to extend the duration of your Berserk mode. This was not the fight to showcase it, but that is generally the point. So, back to the business end. Let's check out the ability descriptions of Weapon X. And this is why you get so much more damage in your Berserk mode, because as soon as you enter it, you gain additional 5k attack. That's like 100% fury. So on its base, as soon as you enter the Berserk mode, you are already at 10k attack for the 7-star rank 2, and that is absolutely massive. And also here we can see that you have 100% chance to regen all the damage that you take. And whenever you get struck whilst in Berserk mode, you gain additional 7,500 attacks. So that's like 150% fury. It is not lasting for a very long time, but it definitely is very effective. And then obviously all your attacks are unblockable and you are immune to all stun effects. That is what makes Berserk mode so super important. And here is the heavy attack. So when you are below 10 rage charges, double the current rage charges, and that works on both hits. So if you start with 2 and you hit them, you're gonna get to 4. You hit them again, you're gonna get 8. Then you can drop another heavy attack and you're gonna get 16. And you obviously refresh all your bleed effects. And special attacks is basically how you enter Berserk charges unless you get hit over 25 charge limit. And then in general, here we can see that he does have his 25 charge limit, and as soon as you enter the Berserk rage, you go unstoppable for 4 seconds, which is the best time to get hit, because you will regen 100% of the damage taken and get that massive fury to go for like explosive amounts of damage. And that's kind of the gist of how you use Weapon X. So besides having these fights, we obviously, the most relevant matchup right now for Weapon X would be Bullseye. Typically in Battlegrounds, you do want your Weapon X to be exactly the same rank as the Bullseye as you are fighting. So if you're taking on a 7-star rank 3, you will want a 7-star rank 3 Weapon X. And you do want Wolverine Relic equipped. Large amount of damage that you can see me here is because I do not have the Relic, as well as obviously the heavy rank discrepancy. Because that most of the damage here is going to be from taking the extra bleeds and, you know, the special one hits and block at times. And it is not as big of an issue in Battlegrounds if you're using equally ranked champions. But the point is, here you can see that it's quite a cheesy matchup, because Bullseye will continuously keep evading you and you are going to keep going unstoppable and you're going to be landing some hits, and that is how you can finish this fight off. So this was like a 5-star rank 3 against the 6-star ascended max Bullseye, and this is typically how this match goes. To put it simply, you want to drop on a full combo. You can see I didn't get any Berserk charges again, quite unlucky for me, but I got some on the heavy attack. So ideally now I'd actually want to land in another heavy attack. I'm going to wait out for the first evade to end because I'm not in my Berserk mode yet. So I'm going to drop my heavy, get 15 charges, and now I am going to push him past the bar of power. And I'm just going to go for it. So here, when I do get hit whilst I'm under unstoppable, I get the fury. Obviously, I regen back all the damage except the red dots, but still, you know, that's vast majority of the damage. If you have Wolverine Relic equipped, that would just about cover everything pretty much. And here we can see that I'm just effectively spamming lights, pushed him to level 2, which is ideal. And yeah, that was the fight. And that is typically how you do these fights in Battlegrounds. Remember that you do have to be basically equally ranked as the Bullseye that you are taking. And obviously he does have quite a good amount of matchups that he can take via similar ways, where you can either stack your bleeds or just go on ultra aggressive and regen back all the hit damage that you're going to be taking. Champions like Halkling, Sasquatch, he's quite fast Nick Fury counter. He can take a fair amount of variety of champions, but again, the most important one here definitely would be the Bullseye. Here we can see that I got that massive fury and regen back all the hit damage that I took. And I'm just going to push him to level 2s and drop my heavy attack by charging heavy. Drop my heavy attack by being unstoppable. And that is actually quite safe to do in that circumstance, because if I'm unstoppable and if he activates his special attack or hits me, that's actually good, because I'm going to regen back all the damage that I take anyways, and I'm going to get the fury. So you can you kind of have to be ultra aggressive with him at times, and that is what I was referring to, the ultra aggressive playstyle. Here's going to be a quite similar situation. This is from Act 8.4, I believe, 8.45, and here we can see, the exact point where you can go ultra aggressive, just ignore what opponent does, and then I'm going to eat a level 2 and absorb the shock damage as well. So here we have the opponent evading, which is fine, extra charge for me. Here I ate that level 2 on purpose. We can see that I'm regioning back just about everything. Yes, I'm taking that shock damage, but the regen is just about overpowering it anyways, thanks to my relic and recovery, and you just brutally destroy these champions. And this is not necessarily the node meant for Weapon X, and this is not necessarily matchups meant for Weapon X, but he can do a lot of very kind of weird things. And here's going to be another example how you wouldn't want to use a bleed champion against Cable because you take up so much degen, but throughout the course of the fight you can see that he just powers through it and finishes the fight with just about high health, or could easily finish fight with just about high health than he has right now. So here we can see that I'm still taking that degen damage, but I'm fine. And I took the hit damage, and I'm gonna go eat up that level 3 as well, and that degen doesn't really matter. I do have my rejuvenate, and I'm gonna eat this level 3. And since I was in berserk mode, I'm good. It's not an issue. We're gonna recover all of that, and keep in mind, because of recovery and the relic, you actually regen more than the damage you take. So in case like this, that only helps me heal back up to full. So he's a champion that you have to have a very specific mindset to play, because you can go ultra aggressive, but it can go wrong. So it does take practice. So I did show this fight already, and just for the sake of it, this is going to be another evade fiesta fight. Last bit that I'm going to be showing, I'm not going to finish this fight, don't worry, but last bit that we need to discuss is obviously how to defeat Wolverine Weapon X. Aside from using heal block champions, which is like the most obvious option, as I mentioned, we can use champions like Valkyrie and Massacre that deal large amounts of damage in block. Well, Valkyrie is a bit trickier, but either way, champion like Massacre, for instance, will work well. So initially you do drop in a couple of combos, get him about like 15 charges or so, and let him throw a special attack. That will make him enter the berserk mode, and he will be unblockable for just about the rest of the fight. But he's going to be super aggressive, that's why easy to intercept. And then at that point, you know that you can just hit him in his block whilst he is in berserk mode as well, and he will not regenerate that damage back. Alternatively, other than block damage, you can just go with dots. So going with damage over time effects is perfectly viable strategy. These will not synergize with despair. Here I make a small mistake, but it doesn't matter. These will not synergize with despair, but he does not regen back the dot damage. So the longer this fight is going to go, the more shocks I am going to have on Weapon X. Whether he is or isn't in his berserk mode, it doesn't really matter that much at this point, because any dot damage that he's taken is going directly out from his health pool. And obviously once he exits the berserk mode, then all the better. He's going to regen less, but the dots are working in the background always. And then the last bit is you can fight Weapon X with any champion as long as you know his abilities well enough, and if you're not in too big of a rush. Because at this point, again, we're just pushing him in his berserk mode, and once he enters the berserk mode, we just kind of want to wait out those charges, and then they go on cooldown, and then his regen is significantly limited, and then you can use just about any champion to hit him down. He still has 40% chance to get those regen passives, but it's nowhere near in the previous levels here, and the good level 2 destroys him. But as we could see there, as soon as he exited the berserk mode, he's much more manageable for champion. So you can either have a very good counter that has dot, heal block, or burst of damage, or you can play around him, wait until he exits his berserk mode, and then kind of like unleash on him. So that is the guide for Wolverine Weapon X. I hope you guys found this useful. If you do have any questions, please do let me know, and I will catch you guys soon. Bye bye. Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about